Hello everybody and welcome to our first of the semi-finals games. It is the Overlord qualification round of the Grand Championship Series 2. And on the south side, our Spanish player, one of the famed players from Company of Heroes 2, playing as the Soviets, it will be Jesulin.
And in the north side, he is the most dangerous man in Company Heroes 2 today. He's played 250 hours of live action, including a 24-hour live stream, playing nothing but hardcore 1 versus 1. Stuve is a monster today, and Jesulin needs to not underestimate Dan. He needs to respect him as a player, because if he doesn't, things could go just as badly as they did for Von Ivan.
Yeah, Von Ivan got brutally taken out of the tournament yesterday. It was a little bit of controversy. He was writing in his base with some sandbags a little bit. We have had words with him for that. Just wanted to let everyone know. He was very sorry for that.
He was showboating. I mean, I see it differently. People say that it's uncompetitive behaviour, but in that case, I genuinely think it's just Von Ivan underestimating Stuve. I mean, Dan, a month ago, who was Stuve? Oh, that Swedish guy that streams, you know, and says a few risque jokes here and there. Now Stuve is a competitor. He's extremely good at the game right now. He's been practicing more than anybody.
It's true. I think the good thing as well, we get to see him playing OKW first. He played very well with OKW yesterday. And to my knowledge, I mean, OKW was on the back foot as a preferred faction at the start of GCS. And, you know, there are players like reviving the underused factions. Yesterday we got to catch some great Brit play, some great US play. And OKW just seems to be on fire again, to be honest. They seem to be, people seem to have found the kind of clicking mechanism that makes them incredibly powerful.
Absolutely, and I think, to be honest, it's not so much about... I think OKW haven't really changed that much. I mean, there was a few little tweaks here and there, but it was all about that crazy Wehrmacht mobile defense meta. That was like a malignancy that had overtaken the entire tournament scene, and people were sick of it. But then it started to be countered, and not just countered, like wiped off the field by Soviet play. So now the now the Axis players, or when the players are playing Axis rather, they fear being countered as mobile defense, so they're leaning on OKW more. It's exciting.
It is exciting. I love watching the kind of formula of KO2 meta change. And also it's interesting. We've cost way too much mobile defense, to be honest. Although it's good. You want to see the highest level of play. You want to see what's strong, how they're using it. But it can get a bit too samey with the level of variety we've got. One thing I'll never get tired of seeing, though, is Stern Pioneers high DPS. Look at that. Jesulin knows high risk of losing models as the Stern Pioneers tear onto the left side of the map.
They're also hiding. It was lovely, wasn't it? I love an ambush then.
It was, yeah. His engagement seemed to work well for him on timing. I just want to point out he's strategically making sure that Jesulin doesn't cap that fuel on the left by getting the standard territory point. Do you like to see that?
Yeah, same. Stuve's just hiding out. Stuve's OKW in particular is very dangerous faction. Just look at this photograph. He's creeping up on Jesulin. Almost like Jesulin is walking into a trap. But very much so. I mean, I fear for Jesulin in this game 1. He's never really played that much against against Stuve in the past, in auto match the past few months. He had a few games in here and there, but not enough to understand the ferocity of the beast in this tournament setting, because as we all know, people play 100% max full tilt in a tournament.
No, I agree. One of the things with Stuve, and with Jesulin, you're looking at two players that actually use recon and intel in this game. Now, the games that I cast to Stuve already, he's making use of special operations flares. You know, he was seeing visibly where everything was before he made his pushes, and that made him very brutal. You then got Jesulin, who's got armored assault, radio intercept. You know, he's able to hear what's coming in advance. So, you know, like both of them are using their own kind of form of intel in this game. And
combat engineers, Combat engineers had a little bit of a difficult retreat path there. They were doing okay in their house, but it's good pressure being applied by the Foch Grenadiers. I mean, that said though, Dan, he has been able to control the fuel on the west side, Jesulin. He's managed to mitigate the early fast start by Stuve. And for every second he stops Stuve having any high fuel, it just pushes that Lux further and further back. And that's good. That plays into the hands of Jesulin. It's all about the T70 versus Lux timings, and we all saw how badly that can go for you if you get those timings wrong. How many Lukes was it yesterday?
4 Panzer IIs against von Ivan, which was crazy. I mean, it wasn't actually it probably could have been stopped as well. We were kind of like reviewing this game, thinking, well, von Ivan had access to guards, didn't use them. May have been easier than trying to build the AT gun. Don't know, but 4 Lukes was what he went for, and that was the key thing with Stuve. We saw him just continually capitalizing on his advantage.
I mean, I think with casters, Dan, with the two best in the biz, if I don't mind me saying, it's a pleasure to cast with you as always. And but I think you always talk about strategy a lot more than I, and I always talk about tactics a lot more than you. From what I saw, it wasn't necessarily a bad macro decision, as a bad micro decision to let Stuve use a blob of Folks Grenadiers to push his AT gun around. Then the Lukes got into the base. It was a few miscalculations here and there, and he'd miscalculated. I mean, both go hand in hand, of course. But I watched the game back late last night, and I just analysed. And Stuve was hyper-aggressive at the exact right incisive moment. And I don't think von Ivan reacted fast enough, and that's possibly is also, not denying your point, but it's also why he ended up in that position.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is there's endless factors to talk about. It's like there's the stress of it. You're a game down already at that point. It's a difficult beast to define entirely. But anyway, moving on to this one. 4 cons from Jesulin. It's been matched by Stuve. And, I was mentioning this yesterday. I really like that the Kubel is on the field. The Kubel Vet 1 ability, assuming that we see it, it's just so fantastic when you've got a big army of conscripts to detect through the fog of war. Its detection abilities, it's just more intel. I like that these units get used this way.
It's obviously on the UI, down at the bottom of the UI in the central console, it says follow camera. I would urge you at some point in today's action, when you see something reconnaissance based, just follow the player's camera who's using it, and you'll be amazed at just how fast they snap to the exact periphery of their lines of sight, just in the vain hope of detecting something. Kimbo especially is very good at it, and it's what makes him a very good player, so I'm interested in seeing that, especially later. But right now, I mean, Stu's battling back, Dan. He's starting to eat up the map.
He is. His map control's very good. Again, he's managed to utilize his resources very effectively here. You see he's already got the STG. He's going to be trying to measure up against the conscripts. The Kubel's just hit Veteran T1. This unit's great at just, eating away at your opponent's manpower without suffering any loss yourself. Sandbags in the correct positions, and now we have that Panzer II Lukes on the field. Dominant unit.
Oh dear, here's the Zis gun. So it is the same strategic kind of meta as yesterday with the von Ivan game, but we have to see how Jesulin scouts for the Lukes, how he reacts to it, and how he protects himself. Right now I'm seeing that AT grenades have just about finished being teched, so now he needs to defend the AT gun, which sounds crazy, with conscripts at all times to stop the Lukes getting in there. Nice first shot in, pushing it away. Decent by Jesulin so far.
Jesulin, I think, is maybe going to give the game away that he has teched for AT nades there. Not sure if that was a wise decision, because unless you're guaranteed to get that, that wasn't enough. Do you know? It wasn't enough to be a bait. So I think it's quite clear that Jesulin has teched there.
Absolutely. Folks Grenadiers on these. This is what he has to be careful about. He can't afford the Zis to be flanked like this. Stuve is like a shark, and the Zis is like a bleeding fish. He'll seek it out and he'll decrew it, and you'll be stuffed. You'll be absolutely done for. So that's why the Maxim's being built now, Dan. He's got that out to help defend. He's got the AT grenades. So the meta right now is all about the Zis can push away the Lukes, but Stuve is going to try and decrew the Zis.
It's, I really feel like actually that one flank, the one that you just spoke about, seems to be a defining moment in most games for Stuve. It seems to be where he picked up very heavily yesterday. Look at those infiltration grenades!
Nice. Incredible infiltration nades followed by the Lukes. That was great. The conscripts, by the way, were sticking around to try and get a wipe on the Folks Grenadiers, and it just was one moment too many as they bite the dust. So unfortunate for Jesulin there, but as you always say with Soviets, you can always afford to lose one conscript squad. You've always got one bit of flex. And there's his free one. He's already was about to rebuild it, but he's thinking of something else instead. Oh, he's building Tankovic.
Late movement again on those infiltration grenades. It's lucky didn't lose more models there.
So the manpower there was going to go into a conscript to rebuild it, but instead he's chosen to build the Tankovi battalion command. As a very brief lull moment, just want to give some shout-outs to people in chat. Loveness says Vamos Jesulin. Lovely to see the old tournament legends of 2014. Oh, sorry. Here we go. Big engagement.
That's right. Panzer II Luke's trying to go through the center. 18-aids do go off, and is the AT gun around to make that last shot? With the conscript sight, actually, if the Panzer II Luke's moves any further on the side of that building, ground attack could be used to kill it. But I think actually Stuve has microed this engagement very well.
Very well. He saw it coming in. Now he's got the Volksgrenadiers with the Sturmgewehrs coming in to push away the Maxim. The Zis gun in turn has a difficult retreat path. Here comes the death ball of Stuve.
Such a shame. I mean, I think Jesulin was making a bit of the right decision there to start pushing the left side of the map. But now with the second Panzer II on the field, any kind of wide-ranging infantry movement is going to get shut down really quickly by these. And there just isn't a flexible counter unless you get that T-70 out, which Stuve is scouting for at the moment with the flares. This is the intel we were talking about. It is awesome.
So,
I don't know if you... I hate to bring this up, because I always talk about OKW. They are the most recon-based faction, I think, in the game. You know, you've got the infrared, you've got detection abilities everywhere, you've got non-killable scouting mechanisms, you know, that are off-map call-ins. You know, the idea is that you use these units.
We've
like
got the
this.
Lukes taking advantage of that site, exactly. Coming in now to take out the combat engineer, Veteran C2. That is an amazing find by Stuve. He's scouted, as Dan was saying, and he's taken full advantage and gets a squad wipe as a result.
Yeah, it's exactly what you want to see from OKW, to be honest. And now he's able to get his next tier structure up. This is going to be an interesting choice to see what he goes for. He is, of course, Special Operations Doctrine, so Battle Grouper is going to be the choice for healing.
He doesn't need Schwer. You don't need Schwer as Panther command tank. That's why it is the OKW commander of choice. It has 70% of OKW games. Use it right now in this tournament. Nice by the Zis. Conscripts rush in, but they are low health. Was that a move too many by Jesulin? Oh, close. Here comes the T-70. Will it take out the Stern Pioneer? Another big moment.
It is a big moment. T-70 has every right that it should chase. But Jesulin, I think he's going a little bit too deep here. He's in Fausting territory. One of the Fausts will go off, and the Panzer II was just blocking it in a little bit there. Don't think there's anything really to secure it, though.
Exactly. And also, the Maxim and the Zis have come around in turn. So I wanted to give a few shout-outs in chat to Von Asten, Ami Siphon, a few people that deserve them, but I can't right now because this game is too ferocious, too fierce. It's all over the place. We've got the Panzer II firing through the bushes. Volksgrenadiers is coming into view. What a raucous first game.
Yeah, equally there, though, actually, the AT gun was ground attacking through the hedgerow to the Panzer II position. Jesulin's desperate to get some barrage shots off and drop some of the models off the Volksgrenadiers, but here come the two Panzer II Lukes. Is this Jesulin's moment to try and revive the situation with AT grenades?
Absolutely not. The Ziskun's been taken out. He can take out one Panzer II, but he's going to lose a T-70.
He's got the units there to do it. He's got the conscripts that he could snare this. He has the munitions. I'm really confused as to why. He's not making...
He's running as fast as he can, Dan. He's run as fast as he can. He gets an 18-8 through the log pile. It's a Protoss phase-forming 18-8. There's another one from the two-man conscript heroes of the Radina. Main gun destroyed. Oh, Jesulin, what a great find there.
I feel like he could have played that engagement better, but he still gets the result from it, which I think is the most important thing. And he secures the AT gun. If anyone caught the Von Ivan games yesterday, Stuve was actually salvaging these AT guns when they were killed and he had a moment. So actually getting that back is incredibly important, just for the fact he's not going to have to spend manpower again. So maybe some hope, but VP's
very well paid by Jesulin. I think that was an awesome defense. And I honestly thought Stuve had that. I genuinely thought Stuve had it, and somehow there's a miraculous 18-8 through the log pile. We'll call that the holy 18-8 of Jesulin. From this point onwards, that is the holy 18-8 of Jesulin. He was able to somehow miraculously get it off, and this game has now been turned on its head. Also, just had a Zisk going to attack the Kubel. It's been turned on its head, and Jesulin's strategically in charge right now in terms of material.
See there, by the way, detection was used on the Kubel. He even spots the conscripts on the left-hand side of the map there with that with that detection. The range is huge. And it gives him so many options when fighting. More infiltration grenades on the retreat, wipe a couple of models.
Oh, brutal. There's only one way that Jesulin is in the lead, and that is, of course, a little bit of material. But in every other regard, Stuve still has it, of course, in map control, victory point dominance. And possibly just an edge, a psychological edge right now, having been so aggressive, and just making Jesulin think that no place you put your support weapons is safe. I've got eyes everywhere. I've got flares in the sky. I've got little Kubelwagens driving around, spying on you. It can't make you feel very comfortable.
No, I agree. But Jesulin is a man of strategies, build orders. I think he's identified that with the two big fuel investments that were anti-infantry, what is left on the field, infantry, he's gone for another Maxim. And actually, I think that puts Stuve in a position where he needs to make his next teching choice. Something that's a counter for support weapons. And if he's saving for the Panther, I think that's a problem.
Another non-dodge there of those infiltration grenades. They're causing all kinds of problems. And combat engineer possibly going down on the west side. So another little loss there for Jesulin. He can't keep affording to bleed this much. Saying that, he is able to find the Kubel.
Yeah, there's a lot of engagements going on at the moment, so you can tell like both players are trying to manage that delicate delicate battle between health bars and grenades and all sorts, and yeah, both players losing something there. I don't know what this decision for the Command Panther, I don't know if I like it.
Rubbish. You know why? Because it shows that he did not watch the Nagano versus Von Ivan game. Or was it? So let me just double check my bracket history there. I believe it was Nagano versus Von Ivan semi-final from last tournament, where Nagano just hard countered Von Ivan's OKW by literally going for VP meta and going for manpower control and using manpower-based anti-tank, which is, you know, something that DevM showed us the way, spelt WAE. It is a possibility to literally just ignore vehicles, ignore fuel, and just go for control. And go for a slow control as Soviets with 2 Zis guns, 3 AT grenade platforms, 2 Maxims. That is the archetype for control. And he's going to go for that now, and he's very slowly going to try and overturn the tide of battle by eating up manpower and dying here.
That was actually really well played by Stuve. Did you see that he threw the infiltration grenades knowing that Jesulin was going to move out of the cover position? Which is really good. Jesulin, by the way, barrage on the Volksgrenadiers as they come in. He's got a choice to make between the Panther or the Volksgrenadiers. Now I think he needs to get that AT gun out of there. But the mechanic is really interesting because I don't think that Stuve really has a composition advantage at all. He's countered by suppression and anti-tank, so Jesulin has to capitalize on this.
He will, very, very slowly. He's going to capitalize like a glacier. You know, because it is a very slow capitalization. It's almost as though, do you remember when Von Ivan, we were like, oh, he's smashing Nagano, he's beating him around the head, and then Nagano won that game? Well, to be fair, I think Von Ivan attacks about the entire hedgerow of trees about 7 times with Stukas, so as long as Stuve doesn't start attacking the trees, maybe Jesulin might have it coming for him, but can I just say, by the way, it's horrendously... I don't like to talk about balance in the patch, but there's one ability here for the AT guns that, of course, costs 35 munitions, and it does the same amount of damage as the infiltration aids that cost 15. And the infiltration aids are easy to pop off behind hedgerows and all kinds of things. It's got a shorter wind-up time. Infiltration aids are very powerful, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
What's the one mitigation? You know, they have to be out of battle for a little bit. You do that every time you retreat, so it doesn't even mitigate at all.
No, they're just good. I mean, it's a discussion to have, but for what it is at the moment, it's in the game. Yeah, I mean, they're very strong, and for support weapons, they just cause absolute chaos. As you said, they're just so easy and quick to throw. The range is huge as well. I think that's an issue for some players.
Nice from the Zisgun, decrewing the MG34 there. So that's score 1 for the Zisgun mechanic over the infiltration aid mechanic. They were able to decrew. Will they be able to get away? Yes, they will, because the Panther has terrible, terrible accuracy against infantry. It is a very inaccurate tank, which means it's good versus vehicles only. It's how they manage to use the game files to make one thing good against infantry and another thing good against tanks, etc. So well played by Jesulin there.
Yeah, T70 on the field. I like this choice, by the way, because he knows that there's a big investment in the Panther. Jesulin's going to know that there isn't a tier 4, so there's no risk of other vehicles. He's happy to get that out because he's got the 2 AT guns, and this is just going to help him keep pushing the field against the infantry. Jesulin has the composition advantage. I mean, I really don't see how Stuve really is making that much ground, because it just comes down to good flanks right now.
Yeah, the T70, just like the Panzer Lux, is an excellent late-game choice. Not that this is quite late game yet, but the meta... Oh god, that was a big shot from 2 Zis guns. Doesn't matter about your flares, you can see it coming, but it's still going to hit you. Because the T70 doesn't have to be in frontline combat. It's all about pushing units off points. It's all about driving around, making a nuisance of itself, firing through this new gap in the hedgerow. Big thanks to Sturm, Panther, White Flash, and all the players that gave feedback. Oh, nice flank coming in.
Yeah, there is. It's once again, the T70 is actually just afraid of taking that Faust because of the Panther round. Even though he's got 2 AT guns lined up, I think that kind of suggests to me Jesulin is either going to want to retaliate as soon as these units come off the field, or he's just afraid of what Stuve can do to him. But look at this. Look at Jesulin. This is like watching, you know, I've been watching a lot of the World Cup recently. This is like watching the counter-attack from a football team. Like, the ball's in their possession, they're all rolling up the field, and actually, Jesulin could get double fuel here, and I think that would be a pivotal thing for the game, because there's just so much suppression on the counter for Stuve.
Oh, I thought your football analogy was still going. I was so excited. But no, it's very much England versus Croatia. In this case, Stuve is England. He's like all drama in the first 10 minutes. Wow, I've got a KW. Look at these grenades. And Jesulin's, well, I'm actually a professional at this game, and I'll very slowly and methodically destroy you. You know, sit back. So let's talk about the MG34 in Jesulin's hand. This is playing so far into his hands, Dan. He's got this MG meta, this victory point control meta, and I sound like a hypocrite right now. I suppose I do kind of agree, actually. But it is what it is, and I would agree that there are shifts in this game. There's ways you can play a competitive game of Company Heroes, and Jesulin is choosing a different way. He's not going for material. He's not going for fuel and tanks. He's just going for control, and it's starting to win out.
Ooh. Stuve letting Jesulin get 2 cheeky shots with the AT gun. We're still seeing Stuve regularly pop the artillery flares. I think Jesulin needs to be careful of that, because it's almost like every time you hear those flares go down, you know that Stuve is about to make those movements, so you know you can hit the tree. Here comes that Panther.
Here comes the Panther. The Zis is mitigating. Conscripts come in to threaten it with an 18A. Faust does go in, but it won't matter. Ziscon gets another huge shot in. Tell you what, max range, can it get a third? Oh, not quite. Very close. Elsewhere in the east, the Volksgrenadiers are trying to get in. Jesulin does not want them to cap that victory point. He's going to go in with the conscripts. The Maxim will help out and suppress, but it'll take a while because they're behind green cover. Infiltration aids come in to stop the neutralization, but they get there anyway. What a
prediction!
Game.
What a prediction by Jesulin, though. He knew that the infiltration grenades are going to go in. It's almost like he's just sussed out Stuve. He made the dodge, threw the Molotov. I really like that. It's a shame it didn't turn out more successfully.
Yeah, it's a shame he dodged just on the edge. More flares. It's the perfect way to play against a defensive player. You know, you want to know where those defenses are, and if it's the Maginot line, you just go through the Ardennes, and that's what Stuve's going to be wanting to do, metaphorically, and quite literally.
Well, we have tier 4 built in the north now. It's going to be covering the standard territory point outside Stuve's base. And actually, the return of a triple cap. Jesulin's been down on VPs for a while. He needed to get that under control. I think Stuve's build order has completely stunted him. But what do you think the next choice is going to be from the Panzerschwerer?
Right, interesting. The Panzerschwerer is up now, yeah, indeed. To be honest, the funny thing about OKW is they're great in the early and mid game, much like that relic. Do you remember the relic info diagram about the factions? How completely wrong it was? It was horrifically wrong. Well, they said OKW was a late game faction, but they're anything but. And the main reason they're not is because everything costs too much damn pop cap. So the longer a game goes, the more it will fall into the hands of the Soviet player. And you'll begin to see that because the players are both playing very conservatively now, with a lot of preservation, and you'll start to see Jesulin has more options and more variety of options than Stuve.
Yeah, it's the great counter mechanism.
Oh, it's a big moment here. The Jesulin needs to take a shot, and then the 18A. The T70 has escaped. There you go. Tandem combo. Oh, missed time. Never mind.
Yeah, should have waited to throw the AT grenade. And
yeah, just missed time.
You can't miss opportunities like that. You know, I hate to say it, but if you're going to be top level, you cannot mess up crucial timings like that, because, you know, the game relies on those units dying for you to progress. You can't miss those opportunities. They are the things that win games.
Yeah. It's very hard to criticize the person that's won the most tournaments in history, though. Also, Jesulin had no backup at that moment. If he had got the damaged engine, what would have happened? It would have just rolled away more slowly. You know?
Oh,
here comes the death ball. Yeah, well, there's no Ziskans there. There's only one. Can't get him from that range. That is a scary prospect. You've seen that vetted Volksgrenadier infantry. It's horrific to look at if you're the Soviet player. Everyone has a loaded infiltration nade as well. Every single one.
Well, obviously hoping that the Maxims gain enough veterancy where they might start suppressing off the first barrage. We've got the IL-2 called in. Sturmovik is there to suppress the infantry. Jesulin knows, and look what's just arrived on the field.
I think that was a beautiful moment, because Stuve was playing very skillfully with the flank from multiple directions, and Jesulin shut down one of the flanks by clicking the button, and he's clicked another button. It's the call-in meta commander button. The best and most trusted button in Company of Heroes 2 tournament history has been clicked. Panther takes out the T70, does it? Not quite. Very unlucky for Stuve there, because this I don't know what it's doing. What's it doing to that house? That was disturbing.
What?
I just prodded it with its huge cannon. That was horrible to watch. But,
we nearly had Vet 5 Volksgrenadiers die to the IL-2, actually. They did get a conscript wipe. Just want to point that out. Stuve did wipe a squad whilst all that was going on. Nearly lost it to the IL-2 planes. But I like this battle. You know, this is an age-old battle between the Command Panther and the IS-2. Because with Mark Target, you know, it kind of changes it up a little bit, but I think we'll see a lot of veterancy come off of these two units constantly back and forth firing at each other.
Yes, with the incredible armor of the IS-2, all that crude pig iron and that 122mm cannon. Sorry, I meant Starlinium, not pig iron. My bad. My Verabouism came out there. Beautiful Starlinium from Siberia. It's fantastic.
Just watch this IS-2 there, takes the green cover. Just wiped like 3 models, by the way, off a Volk squad in the center previously. I want to watch the positioning of Jesulin here. He's actually covering across the hedgerow for where his IS-2 is.
What?
So his positioning is good.
This is the one IS-2 crew that can actually hit their targets. What the hell? They're demolishing right now.
If it can hit targets on this elevation, I'll be... This is a bad place to fight, though. You don't want to fight with tanks on this side of the map. The elevation always distorts the engagement.
But he's moving.
Every time.
He's moving. Oh, nice mine went off, by the way. So the reason he was firing on the move there, which is a Neddy no-no for any IS-2 player, was because he could hear the Panther, I think. He was a bit scared. Fair enough. So, just a quick fun fact for you here. There was a big race in World War II to figure out how to penetrate a tank the best, Dan. They were creating kinetic penetrators and shaped war charges that, you know, unleash a molten jet of iron through the hull. And the Soviets just made the IS-2. Do you know how that killed people? Big shell kill. So it just hit the enemy tank, shook it so bad everybody inside kind of just died. Didn't even have to penetrate, it was just big shell. And that's the IS2 for you.
I think they should have gone like, you know, Robot Wars, where they just make things that flip tanks. You just ram it and then get like Matilda, the pincers. Suddenly the Panther's on its back. We get Craig Charles in to do the commentary. It's maybe a potential co-feature to be developed.
Oh dear. A lot of action going on. It's starting to get a little bit more World War One-ified as we enter the Jesulin zone of him just trying to wear down his opponent. Capping with the T-70, by the way, which just helps that extra amount. And just think, if that Panther had killed the T-70, Jesulin would be currently bleeding victory points, but it didn't.
He's done well on the VPs. I think he's actually been under loads of pressure in this game from Stuve. But I dread to think what position Stuve would be in had he not gone for the Command Panther. You know, for someone that is playing with Intel, that seems like a blatant disregard for Intel, do you know what I mean? The situation was, didn't call for anti-tank, it called for anti-infantry. Jesulin just had like 10 minutes or more, I think, to play with.
Yeah, but Von Ivan showed us all that Stukas are useless on the map. You just can't use them. It's impossible to make a Stukas work.
Reinvesting in the Lukes may have been a good idea. Do you know what I mean?
It's a joke because it hit the trees so many times. It would have been a perfect choice. The Focus Grenadier Vet 5 could be going down to the T-70 max range. One last shot, possibly. Oh, not quite. Can't believe this. It's a cracking game, isn't it?
It is. It's great. Game 1 semi-finals.
Do you know what excites me, Dan? The fact that I know this game is going to get ridiculous as it draws on. As Stuve is pushed further and further down in victory points and Jesulin keeps getting his control, Stuve is going to be left no other option but to go crazy and to go all in. And when that moment comes, chat's going to light up. It's going to get incredibly exciting.
I always find it really interesting because Stuve, to me, is still a wild card. It's like you can kind of predict where Jesulin's going to be aggressive or when he gets rattled or, you know, that kind of thing. Stuve, to me, is still like, I don't know exactly when he's going to hit that point, but he will.
There was a huge moment there. 2 18-8s on the Panzer IV. Then the Focus Grenadiers came in to cut the Zis guns off. Were they able to do so? Yes, they were. Infiltration aids. Ooh, not wiping the Vet 2, but they did stop the all-important kill on the Panzer IV. Meanwhile, we had a bit of a standoff between the Panther and the IS-2, so that's incredibly interesting tactically there.
I would love to see right now, and I think Jesulin does have the pop cap, even if he reinforces fully, to tech up tier 4 and maybe bring out a T-34 or even an SU-85.
Yeah.
A lot of anti-tank already, but a T-34 I think would be a really nice complement to this.
I can't see one on the field.
He hasn't got no, he's... I said if he does tech to
Oh,
tier
sorry.
4, like...
Oh, right. My bad. Sorry. It's very, very loud battle. Focus Grenadiers storming onto the battlefield. They are reduced in numbers. 2 of their squads are in base right now, and it is getting all the more crucial for Stuve. I mean, guys, you may think this guy's got 220 victory points. It's easy days. He hasn't held 2 victory points for the past 10 minutes. He's been bleeding for the past 10 minutes, and that course of battle does not show any sign of stopping.
No, it's the good thing Jesulin dealt well with the panic position, which is you're bleeding VPs hard, you're triple capped, how do you get around from it? Stuve isn't dealing so well with that. And that was a terrible shot from the IS-2 there.
That's how I play Coming Heroes 2. I get in the panic position, which is fetal. Just crying after the defeat screen. That's how I tend to play.
I'm interested, by the way, so that the Maxim with the veterancy seems actually very efficient at suppressing the Volksgrenadiers. We know it's certainly not at the start, but what's the veterancy that actually makes it viable?
Panthers coming, swing around the east there. Stu's going for an eastern flank. IS-2 is trying to mitigate. Focus Grenadiers rushing in to get the all-important Faust off. IS-2 just staying out of range. Panthers now coming in. Nice incendiary grenade this time. There is a Vet 3 Zisk on though, Dan, and Stuve knows it. He can't delve as deep as he would like.
Yeah, I think that was the first sign of the players starting to get rattled and wanting to make those big pushes. That signals to me that Stuve is running out of options. Maybe he considers this is one of the last chances he'll get to make a push like that. Jesulin is building more engineers.
Desperation in the west, victory points. A Vet 5 Focus Grenadier has been staying there for way too long. Conscripts watching on. Will they get the final kill? Oh, the Stern Pioneers blocked the squad. Mosin Nagant rifles coming to the rescue at mid-range, their perfect range. And they've Wet Viper Vet 5 squad there.
I see.
Oh, meanwhile, Dan, we've had the Vet 3 Ziskun has been wiped by Focus Grenadiers, so it's tit for tat. You don't want to lose a Vet 3 Ziskun at all.
No, so Jesulin is having to repair all of his tanks at the moment. This is Stuve's time on the field right now. And Stuve, again, we always talk about like these are the moments you need to make the most of. And this is where Stuve has the big chance. He went for the VPs. He's now going just to wipe as many models as he can. But Jesulin does have enough manpower to recover from pretty much any of these engagements. It's all about map control.
So what was a big moment? Do you remember when that Vet 2 combat engineer died? Look what's happening in the south right now. The IS-2 and the T-70 have been taking forever to repair. And that has meant that Jesulin has ceded map control, lost victory points. And the IS-2's had to be rushed into combat with, you know, one of its bumpers hanging off or whatever. It's not past its MOT, that's for certain. And it's way too early. It's suffering coordinated fire from the Panther. And it was just ill-timed. It's going to have to go straight back.
I mean, the IS-2 is dangerous in a way. We're going to get a second Panzer IV on the field. We've got a Vet 2 Panzer IV already from Stuve. And the Command Panther is gaining veterancy that will buff and you know, give bonuses to those units, making them even better against the infantry, the support weapons. So maybe Stuve has actually found the counter to this, but the IS-2 is like feeding veterancy to that Command Panther.
100 victory points remaining for Jesulin, the commander's just said in his comical OKW announcer voice. 100 victory points remaining. I don't know who that voice actor was, but I hope he doesn't return. Oh, Conscript and Focus Grenadier in a duel to the death in the east, but I know who wins between a Panzer IV and a T-70, and it's not the latter.
There's a little blind spot between the Panzer IV and the AT gun in the west. T-70 should probably get on capping that VP. Ooh. Here's the flank we're looking for. Stuve senses blood, and I think the IS-2 is actually out of position here.
It is. This is big. 2 Panzer IVs making a pincer movement. And we've got the Panther command tank is in a good position, gets a nice rear armor penetration. But one Ziskun was decrewed by a Focus Grenadier. This is looking good for Stuve. Vet 5 Focus Grenadiers coming in, Dan.
Yep, it's all about the VPs right now. Stuve is putting as much pressure on as he can. I love that Jesulin managed to save that AT gun on the left side of the central garrison because he needs that AT gun. He cannot be relying on the IS-2 alone, and he just hasn't managed to find snares. He's got, you know, 3 conscripts on the field, and they haven't found snaring opportunities still,
no.
Which I think is a huge shame.
And look at this as well, he's using incendiary grenades now, he has the munitions, and the great thing about them is they stick around. You can't dodge them then jump in the capping circle, you have to just get out of the capping circle. The spread is huge, the victory points are in a neutral position now, 60 to 198, we know who's got the advantage, and we know who can't afford to lose veterancy on the stolen MG34 and these kind of things. It's Jesulin, he's in a bit of a weak state right now.
Oh, we could be seeing the AT grenade. Jesulin does actually go for that move, gets the Panzer IV. The IS-2 is just, it's going to be off the field for such a long period of time. It's one of the massive drawbacks, of the many massive drawbacks of that unit.
Oh dear. I just realised that Jesulin isn't using crew repair on his vehicles. That is a facepalm moment. Do you know when I defended Jesulin earlier and you said, oh, that's a bit rusty, and I was like, no, how can you say this is the best armament player ever? You're clearly wrong, Dan, it's rubbish. He's not using crew repair, so he could have had these tanks way quicker on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Oh, T-70. Nice.
Wow.
Shot. Oh, the conscripts. What? Where are they getting this accuracy from?
Well, they're not as bad as they used to be. I believe those ones are Vet 2, I think, were the ones over there. Jesulin is a great defender, actually. I have to say. I mean, he's managed what was an incredible kind of like left-right punch combo from Stuve. Stuve was kiting in and out on 3 different sides. You know, Panzer IVs is like in a pincer, as you said, and then coming in with the command Panther. And Jesulin did defend that quite well. I mean, he hasn't really lost anything. Didn't really lose too much of the VPs either. But he has to stop Stuve from making those pushes. He has to be right outside Stuve's base.
This is brutal. So Jesulin's gone for the VP control down, and it's a big moment now. Will the tanks that are marauding around the battlefield, they may be eating Zishgun shots, will they be able to continually punish Jesulin's army? Saying that though, I'm just seeing the IL-2s ready.
I'm interested. One thing that we're seeing slowly, Stuve isn't investing back into his manpower. So every time he loses a squad, it stays that way. He's banking up resources at the moment for God knows what. Can only dread to think what he wants to bring on the field. And for anyone that hasn't seen, the mechanized regiment is up. So you know, it's like maybe he's going for something big. But yeah, I'm worried.
Yeah, me too, dude. It's not... I mean, we're only worried for Jesulin because me and Dan are Jesulin fanboys and we're horrendously biased. So if you're wondering why Dan said, I'm worried, it's because we've been casting Jesulin for years. We have fondness for him. We can't help it. We try and cast him biasly. But when you grow up with somebody, Dan, you know, and Jesulin's always been there for us as like a bigger Spanish brother, watching us and... through the bushes. He's a lovely bloke.
I mean, my concern right now is that Stuve isn't going to have any capping potential. You know, he's going for the Stuka, I assume, just to start clearing out these support weapons, and that's going to be huge.
Look at this second base rate. Why is there no mine on that base entrance? It's the most obvious place in Company of Heroes competitive to mine. It's so obvious. Every Crossroads games features a base rate from that base entrance, yet players aren't using mines. It's almost as though like we've got an epidemic of like the worst STI in history, and people are refusing to use protection. It's just you protect yourself. You don't leave yourself exposed. What? Right, gambling on this Zeus, Sukazufus. That's it, Fus. It's a Fus. Above or below 6 kills on its first barrage down. Well, above 6 or
I would hope,
below 6.
But he's just used the artillery flares. They were in the central area. He should know what's coming. Jesulin's calling in the IL-2. He predicts that an assault's coming, and this is going to be big.
This is going to be unholy. It's going to be devastating. It's going to be fierce and ferocious. Jesulin's not moving. 6 bombs rained down from above. And it wasn't as good as my commentary, but it was still kind of okay. That was rubbish. Again, when will I get my moments? This is killing me.
I don't know. I mean, I think
thinking of new things to say.
I think he played that right. I mean, he scouted for it first. He used it. It's just the positioning was off. The shells seemed to fall, you know, away from all the units. IL-2s are still in the air. And Jesulin is just ready to push back into the base. I think he was waiting for Stuve to make something like that. Because actually it played right into Jesulin's hand.
It was almost as though like he had 6 men and they were standing in between the rockets, you know.
Oh, 80 grenades needs to go on that command Panther. It was timed correctly this time.
IS-2 senses blood. There's nothing protecting right now because the Panzer IVs are in base, but they'll be repaired quickly, so he only has a fleeting moment to get in there and do the damage. Will the Ziskuns get in position? Will he do what he needs to do?
I'd be worried about taking that IS-2 too far, just because of things like mines. You don't want to be caught, snared, and too deep in enemy territory. He's going to get Vet 2 on the IS-2, though, as he takes down 3 models of the Volksgrenadier squad. Who says it can't hit anything?
Vet 2 on the IS-2, for those that are wondering. Oh, Relics patched the game, so my veterancy mod no longer works.
Ah.
Okay, I'll have to do that between games. I'll have to remind myself. It's a really great mod.
I know, I saw
well, the description says,
like, that's how he knows.
Improves the vehicle, makes it betterer. Thanks, Relic. That's really descriptive.
Stuve here, I think he's just been caught going for another flank. Jesulin, you see, he's got the AT gun. Veteran C3 here, pulling around to the position in the west. He's going to have conscripts there. They're going to be able to snare. Jesulin is actually starting to look for these opportunities. Seek them out. There goes one Panzer IV.
What a hit, son. 3 angles, 1 AT nade, 1 IS-2 and a Ziscon. That wombo combo isn't big enough of a word. That was a cavalcade of destruction from Jesulin. He's going for more. What a shot. He took out that bush with furious anger.
That bush, of course, is going to give him additional line of sight on that side of the map. I'm joking. Hey, I'm not going to go that deep into rubbish commentary. But
past 45 minutes doing that, joking, of course. I'm just trying to cover for the folks. They need to get into the central circle because, will this one make up for the other one? Will it? Oh, have they had a ninja nerf?
No, do you know, I think he just actually isn't placing it correctly, because, you know, it needs to be lined up to the center of the line, you know, when you click it. But he didn't use flares that time. So I don't even know if he knew the exact positions.
So people in commentary that are saying stuff like 550 fuel, that misses the point of this game entirely. The strategy for Jesulin is not fuel orientated in the slightest. It's been mentioned a few times. He is just gone for control and manpower control and victory point dominance. It's a very slow game, and it's not actually working right now as his victory points are falling. So whether he's successful or not is a different matter, but it's what he's gone for. And damn, can he get back into that central capping circle and cap it? Because victory points for Jesulin are worth their weight in gold right now.
I think Jesulin can. You've only got what? You've got 4 capping squads on the field and some tanks. Look at the army differences here. How Jesulin is not on that victory point is beyond me. But one of the things is because he keeps just sending the occasional unit up on its own. He needs to get everything together and go up there.
Oh, look at that. Oh, Vet 3. Panzer IV's getting around the back of the Zisco. Hits the T-70. Still surviving that tank. It's had so many narrow scrapes. It's vital, by the way. The T-70 is one of the most important units on the battlefield right now because, of course, it is a victory point meta. 28 to 133 remaining.
It's tense. I mean, I honestly do think there is a really, really good chance for Jesulin here. Fighting against 133 is not that bad. You know, it's
he moved into
and also
it.
One of the interesting things, Stuve is going to have that notification in his headphones that the enemy's at 25 points. Stuve may just start running at the VPs carelessly. I've seen a lot of players do that.
Yeah, you know, he could actually do that, but you have to go all in if he does it. If he trickles in, it ain't going to work. Third barrage, useless. It ain't going to work. He needs to go, if he is going to do that, Dan, go mad and just sit on the victory points. He just needs to do it. You know, literally do it. Everything he's got. But whether
I think he needs to take 3. I think Jesulin should now go for 3 whilst his opponent's off the field. Spread Stuve out a little bit.
Ooh, kinky.
Do you know? Oh, yeah.
But I completely see what you're saying. I don't think Jez is going to go for 3 probably, though. He's still a bit... Oh, yeah, big Jezza. Oh, yeah. Photography is flanking. Every single tactical movement is extremely vital right now. You know, you can forgive us as casters when we love to talk about strategy and build, but right now, even a combat engineer matters. And the Panzer IV certainly matters. And what matters more is he's clicked the button. The IS-2 is called on.
IL-2 does get the full suppression on the Volks Grenadiers there. They will have to retreat. That was perfect timing for Jesulin. Once he gets those resources in, he does use stuff responsibly and in the right times. I want him to go for this left VP and just put that pressure on Stuve that needs to be on there.
Jesulin's pushing up with both Zisguns, both Veteran C2 and Veteran C3. Really formidable weapons. The IS-2 rather, with a huge shot in on those Veteran Grenadiers. Jesus Christ! 29 kills, IL-2. Kamikaze attack. This is all going very well for Jesulin right now, and as soon as a Stuve hits 100 victory points, it'll get very even psychologically.
I think Jesulin's just found his moment. Panzer IV is going to struggle to penetrate the frontal armor of that. IS-2 pushes up. It's got support from the AT gun. There's the Vet 3. And now we have a really good chance to hold those VPs.
Stuve has a chance to go for the Eastern victory point. Will he be able to get a squad out of the Kessel, out of the pocket of resistance? Because that's what it's slowly becoming. Jesulin's starting to creep up a little bit. And 116. Counting down to 100 is big, guys. If you're watching this game, as soon as... Oh, God. Again, being unlucky there. Well, dodged as well. 11 only. It's been about 6 barrages now. Triples this as well, Dan. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, Stuve reminds me of...
100. Oh, sorry.
Stuve reminds me of... I'm just trying to think... I guess, like, you know, he's just got that... I'm just trying to think of another player that specifically does this. They just, like... They have such a great early game. You know, they thrive on that intensity. A bit like Devin used to do with his US, do you know what I mean? Just be so aggressive in the early game. And then, as it gets on and on and on, it just wears down, and he hasn't made so many good decisions in build orders. You know, he's just sending Volksgrenadiers onto the right-hand side. Every single time they have walked into a machine gun, been suppressed, and he's never walked around the flank once. You know, there's just signs of late-game stress there.
Yeah, agreed. And it also shows, absolutely shows the difference between an X-tournament win. Oh, big engagement now. Panther coming in. This could be a huge moment. Stuve feels the pressure. Needs to go in. Infiltration nades. Well, sorry, incendiary grenades go in. Got a damaged engine Panther. IS-2's making it through the gap, but it's being penetrated.
It is. There it goes. Out of control. Panzer IV and Panther deal with that effectively. The T-70 is in against the Stern Pioneer capping in the center. And Jesulin, bear in mind, he will be able to call another one of these out, but he just loses the Vet-3 AT gun. He needs something to to take down these snared and low health units. I think he does. I think he has to.
He doesn't. I genuinely disagree, and not to be a dick, but he's got the T-70. That's the most powerful unit on the battlefield right now, because nobody cares about these anti-tank tanks. The Panther, you know, F your Panther. Your Panther can go back to the mechanized and repair for all I care, because you've got 62 victory points remaining, Stuve, and it's now a victory point meta game. You've got a Vet-3 Maxim, and you're staring down the barrel of it.
Stuka. Stuka is, of course, looking for that Vet-3 Maxim suppressing the center. It's really tense. Jesulin just has to get back up the field. He's not even... He's not... Look at his units. He's got a one-man conscript. I think he thought twice about that. But it's just he needs the presence. He needs bodies on the VP. I don't even think he can be decapped safely, you know.
It's just lack of tournament experience. I think Jesulin has this. I honestly do. The Stukazafus could have been glorious for Stuve, but it wasn't, and it's been very unlucky for him. It's only attained Veterancy 1. But Jesulin has this. He has the advantage. Now the game is no longer about tanks at all. I mean, Jesulin before was playing the VP meta, but Dan, the game's the VP meta now. It's not, and Jesulin is playing the game. He's playing it to a T, because nobody cares about anything else except for VPs anymore, and Jesulin has the tools, because he's built the tools, and he also has a new IS-2 on the battlefield.
There it goes, Panzer IV gets taken down. That's, I actually think the Panzer IVs are so important right now. You've got the Vet-5 Command Panther. You imagine the buffs that that Panzer IV was getting were incredible. That's now gone. Jesulin needs to get bodies on this VP immediately.
Very close there. He couldn't quite do it. Vet-5 Command Panther is in this capping circle. Vet-5 Volksgrenadier is sticking out a little bit too long for many people's taste there. T-70 could finally go down. Hero of the Radina. New IS-2 could save its life. Panther misses with an attack ground. And the combat engineers, that's right, combat engineers are saving the day. And I said combat engineers, even combat engineers become important. And this is exactly why they're currently beating Vet-5 Stern Pioneers. It doesn't matter.
Jesulin's actually going for the left VP as well. He's going to put the triple cap pressure on. Stuka comes in on the back lines. It's just hitting the targets, but not getting the kills.
It does get the kill. It kills the Vet-3 T-70, the hero unit of this battle, because it's killed so many things and rescued so many victory points. The IS-2's going in for another big shot. Vet-5 Panther being pushed away. Jesulin's played this to perfection. Stuve is very unlucky, but it's a lesson to be learned.
It is, yeah. Just not the correct build order. The micro was very good though. Stuve actually, I think, shows he can outperform Jesulin mechanically, maybe.
You're right.
Just seeing it again there. Another squad wipe. VPs are even at the moment. 16. They've just dropped down in favor of Jesulin. After all this time, Stuve is not going to be able to throw.
Vet 3 Maxims, dude. I mean, what can you do against the Vet 3 Maxim and a victory point meta? You got 5 victory points remaining. Ticking down in chat. They're going to have to go for one last push of the dice. Even the Vet 5 Panther's having to get Larry now, and it's losing its life because of it. Damaged engine, and there you go. Jesulin with an historic victory and a true show of experience and grit.
Bloody hell, that game had a bit of everything in there. That was, what a great first game to start the semi-finals today. We've already got 540 people on the stream as well. And thank you everybody for joining us slightly earlier today. Hey, what do you think about Jesulin's chances now?
I think that was the best game of Company of Heroes I've cast in terms of everything. From it telling a story, from it having two players playing very differently, but in a very valid way, both of them. And it being on a great map with loads of viewers in a hype setting. It was the first true great game, everything considered, of GCS2. We've had great earlier round games where the hype isn't quite as much because there's not as much at stake, like the Helping Hands ICAB game, that Tightrope cast, and a few others dotted around. But in terms of the final stage and the ones we've cast on the Sunday, that was the one. That was like, GCS2's actually finally here. May have taken 6 weeks, Dan, but and I mean, it's all for this thing. Have you seen this trophy, this bad boy?
I wish I could full screen you right now.
You can't see it on screen. You didn't think to tell me that.
Oh, sorry. I can see it. It's.
Oh, you can see it's in screen. You mean? I'm.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
my
it
bad.
is, yeah.
I misheard you. I misheard you. But it's a big thing. I mean, I suppose I could bring it close, but I don't like to touch it because it's not mine really. I'm going to give it to you, Dan. I think you've been a bloody brilliant caster, and your production quality is a second to none. And you've been a good friend as well. I mean, I know we have like a rivalry, but that's how I make friends. I'm a bit of a dick. I don't have normal friends. So I just like I've spent so much money in the community on this trophy, but it would have been good going to the GCS winner. But I think that if Dan Stormless Hobden receives this trophy, I think it's rightful, and I'm just glad to announce that now.
I hope not all of that was sarcasm. I hope a bit of that being like, let's just have the whole...
Imagine that if you get the trophy, and then it's like, and I have decided to give myself the prize money. I've worked bloody hard on the organisation, so that's it, boys. We've had a really good game, and we'd just like to announce that GCS2 has finished. So there you go. No, Joe, that was humour. If there's any like people that don't have sense of humour, that was a bit of a joke.
Looking at you, Stern Panther.
Oh, God.
Again, that
really
was a joke.
Precious about it. It cost a lot of money. I've got my headset on like an imbecile.
Okay, do you want to
go without the headset?
Do you want to?
But yeah, this is it. It's a very expensive thing. Hope it looks impressive because it cost us a lot as a community. It's not made of anything fancy. It's steel coated in nickel, but it weighs a good amount. It's got a nice lid on it. I don't know what you could keep in there actually. But yeah, it's a good trophy. Just thought I'd show you that to everybody. That's what you're fighting for. Did you play any good music there, Dan, or anything?
I didn't. No.